Look, if you run a small business and your CRM feels like a mess, if leads are slipping through the cracks, if follow-ups are getting missed, and no one really knows what's working, then this video is going to change how you think about Close.com. Most CRMs get overbuilt. So there's too many fields, too many automations, and not enough clarity. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to build a simple, scalable Close.com account. One that gives you visibility, it keeps your team focused, and actually helps you close more deals. Now, it's the same build that we've used for small businesses doing between $20,000 and $300,000 a month, and we're showing it to you start to finish. Now, every field, every view, every automation we are going to go through. So you don't need a technical background. You don't need a sales team of 10. You just need a system that actually works, and we're going to build it together in under 2 hours. So let's get started.
All right, what is up? We were gonna jump in here and build a Close.com account for a small business specifically. So without further ado, we're gonna jump in. Stick around for the end. We will cover workflows, which are a big part of these accounts, and making sure that we're touching every single lead that comes through, that no lead goes untouched, and that we can verify that each of those are going through. The big thing about workflows is to make sure that not only are they getting a touch, but they're getting a touch even if the sales rep is not currently working. For small businesses, this is going to be huge. That speed to lead is really going to be detrimental in making sure that we're closing as many deals as possible and bringing those across the finish line. Without further ado, we are going to jump in, and I'm going to move my head over here to the other side of the screen and this little guy as well, because we're going to be focusing first on settings. The first thing I always recommend is that we come into the settings section and we adjust some of these items in here. And the first thing we are going to take a look at is going to be phone and voicemail. Obviously, for a CRM, we need a phone number. And one of the best parts about Close.com CRM is the fact that internally inside of the software itself, we have a dialer, we have a phone number. We don't need to go source an external dialer. We don't need Alloy, we don't need Dialpad, whatever these other platforms are using. We don't need any of that. We can do it directly inside of here. So all we're gonna do is click on personal phone numbers, and we are gonna add a phone number. Now, you get to choose the country that you are calling from. Something to keep a note of here is if you are wanting to send text messages in other countries, you will need certain phone numbers for certain countries. We're gonna go with United States here. I'm actually currently in Nicaragua, but we're gonna go with United States, and you get to put a prefix. So that is gonna be the area code of the location you want. If that's Idaho, it's gonna be 208. If that's Arizona, it's 602. You put that in there and request new number. If the number is available, they will give you the number. When it comes to external numbers, you can port those over directly via the porting and BYOC option. And then you can also add an external phone number. We want to set up our phone number. You can see here for a US based number, it's only $1.15. Now you will pay for calling and minutes and usage separately, but we'll cover that in another video. Once we have our phone number added, we can also add a group number. So if you have an inbound kind of IVR number that you want someone to call, let's say it's the sales team, and you want anyone to be able to pick up on that group number, you can use a group number and add that in the same fashion. Very, very simple and straightforward. While we're in here, there are a couple of things that we need to do. We need to make sure that our A2P is set up. Now, this is a compliance for basically text messages in the US. If you're going to be texting in the US, you want to file this as soon as possible. If you just click on this button down here, it'll let you select a plan, then you can file for A2P registration. Now, again, we're gonna be going through the minute details right now. We'll get through this pretty quickly, and then we're gonna go directly into the account structure. And the account structure is what the secret sauce, the seasoning, if you will, of the account that is gonna make everything else function. So you don't wanna miss that part. And then at the end, we're gonna be going through workflows, which just tie everything together. Once we add a phone number, we're gonna go up here to the right-hand side, and we want to allow our microphone settings and turn on call recording. Pretty straightforward. If you just click this, it'll ask you if you can enable your browser settings, and that'll let you through. Something else that we want to do right off the bat is send as. Send as is something that every user in the account must turn on themselves to enable automated workflows. All they have to do is navigate to send as, and then click on automated workflows and turn that on. Once that is turned on, the automated workflows will be enabled and the system will be able to send for that user. Looking at these other settings, the next thing that we really want to do is come into the custom activities, custom fields, as well as statuses and pipelines. We'll talk about those in just a moment, but before we do, I want to make sure that we understand the account structure. This is a question that you guys have to ask yourself of what the sales process is actually going to look like. We're going to cover what statuses to use, what pipelines to use, what custom activities to use, but the small nuances in your company can be very, very different from other companies. So this nuance is what's going to be really important aside from the principle-based operating level of this account. Everything else needs to be based on principles and a higher level of operating, and then you have the small stuff. If you guys need help with the small stuff, if you want us to take a look at your sales process specifically and you feel like it's nuanced, go ahead and click the link in the description below. Schedule time to talk with us and we can take a look. Without further ado, we're going to jump into this document over here. And this is specifically, we're going to build a CRM for a small business. And this business, we're going to pretend it's a plumbing service company. I have not built a system for a plumbing service company. We have built accounts for commercial cleaning services, for distributors of cell phones and other products, many high ticket offers, BSL motions, webinar motions, etc. But the principal level operating procedures of these accounts is what matters. When we come into this, you can see here we have plumbing service and then the primary motion, meaning what is the primary way for leads to actually come in. In this case, we're going to have leads applying online by filling out a free estimate form on the actual website. The secondary motion is going to be referral leads coming from a partner agency. And these are going to be kind of different motions. You should have multiple motions in your lead gen process. Otherwise, you don't really have a business. If you're depending on one specific place for leads to actually come in, we might want to talk about marketing instead of sales. When we're looking at this, the next is the account structure. So we have lead statuses, pipeline stages, custom activities, workflows, and account settings. Inside of here, we need to identify what are these lead statuses going to be. Now, lead statuses are not pipeline stages, and we have to make sure that we do not cross those over in a Close.com account. It just does not make sense. Typically, what we're going to have is potential. We're going to have qualified. We are going to have not qualified. We're going to have one. If you're a high ticket offer, you could do student is another way to do it, but that's going to be a one opportunity. And then we're going to have something like bad data and then maybe do not call. As you can see, these are specific to where the lead is actually sitting in the sales process at the highest level. So potential is going to be any leads that haven't had any contact, right? They do not have any appointments that we've already had with them. They are potential. We don't know anything about these people. All we know is they opted in on a form on our website or they came through a VSL or a webinar. Next up, we have qualified. So this is someone that has actually been qualified. And there's multiple ways to qualify someone. That could be via a cold call that we gave them a call, we qualified them via our conversation, and now they are qualified for a sales rep. Maybe they went through our application on our website and we qualify them based on how they filled out that survey. So this is actually going to be qualified, meaning they are sales ready and they're able to talk with a closer or a sales rep. Not qualified is going to be a status after the initial qualifying conversation. So if they're qualified, we have an appointment and then we decide that they are not qualified, we would move the lead into not qualified. Next up is one. So this is going to be any time that we have a current client or this person has moved into basically the end of the sales process. We also have bad data. So bad data is a nice bucket to have. Bad data means that they put a phone number in online that may be correct. We tried to call them, we couldn't get a hold of them, and they would go into this bucket. One thing we use this bucket for is in the future, if they have an email address, we can do email marketing to them to get them re-engaged if the sales rep had reached out via email and we weren't able to get a hold of them. Lastly, we have do not call. This is a good one to have for leads. If you're opting them in, we mentioned the A2P compliance earlier. If they say, stop texting me, I don't want to hear from you again, we can put them in this and make sure they're filtered out of other parts of the account. Now, pipeline stages. When we have pipeline stages, we are typically going to have one of three pipelines. So we will have a finance pipeline, we will have a product pipeline, and we will have a sales pipeline. Everyone should have a sales pipeline, but product and finance may or may not make sense for your brand. If you are a high ticket offer and you're doing installments on these programs, let's say it's a 6-month program and you're doing multiple payments, that is when we will use a finance pipeline. This allows us to track finance payments or installments as time goes on inside of the pipeline. For a plumbing service company, company, I would say we don't need this one. So we're going to get rid of that. Then we have product. Again, the question would be, does product make sense for a plumbing service company? Probably not. This is used for front-end sales. So when we're selling a front-end product, does it make sense to have this in here? For plumbing, it wouldn't. So we are going to leave the sales pipeline as the only pipeline at this point. It's really all you're going to need. You could add a pipeline with certain stages. Maybe it's a fulfillment pipeline, and that means that after the service rep has been assigned and we have a location to go to and we have a contract signed, or we have an in-person meeting that we got to do, we can move it into that pipeline, and that can now be worked by the person in the field who is actually doing the service. The question would be there, is your fulfillment department working out of Close.com, or are they working out of another system? A lot of times they're going to be working out of another system anyway, so we're just going to be concerned about the sales pipeline. In the sales pipeline, you are going to have statuses on each pipeline. So when we come down here, you can see there's a demo pipeline created, and it has demo completed, proposal sent, contract sent, won, and lost. So this would be much more of kind of a SaaS company. You're completing a demo of a SaaS, you're sending the proposal, you're sending a contract, it's a won or lost. In this situation, we are going to go ahead and just delete these stages here. Actually, we'll just rename them in a moment. So what stages do we actually want for this? We know the lead is coming in from the website as the primary motion. The question there would be, are they creating an account? Are they filling out an estimate form? What is actually happening when they go to the website? In this situation, it's just going to be first name, last name, email address, phone number, the type of service that they're requesting, and the timeline how urgent is it? Emergency? Is it something that can happen in the next 24 hours? Or is it a longer term thing that we want to fix? So that is going to be the application questions. That means we are going to have form submitted as the first pipeline stage. So that's the first action someone is taking. They're going to the website and they're submitting a form. The second stage is going to be a call booked. So anytime we have a form submission on the website, we want to give them the opportunity to schedule a call at that time. What we would typically name that is a strategy session booked, but for the purposes of a plumbing company, we're going to name this discovery call, and we'll put that in there. So the first thing we want is discovery call booked. That is a stage, meaning that the discovery call was actually booked by the person. The next is going to be discovery call completed, and lastly, we're going to have discovery call not completed. Now, once we have discovery call not completed, we're gonna have deal won, we're gonna have deal lost, and that will get us exactly where we need to do. Why do we have form submitted and discovery call booked as two separate categories? I want to know whenever someone submits a form, but they don't actually book a call. Sometimes maybe they couldn't find an appointment that met their needs, or maybe they're in a big hurry and they saw that, hey, they have to wait till tomorrow for an appointment. They don't have time for that. So they just submitted the form and it went to another website. We need to know to be able to call those people immediately. We have form submitted here, discovery call booked. Now, once they actually book the call, they're gonna go into the pipeline stage of discovery call booked. And then from discovery call booked, there's two options that are gonna happen. It's either completed or not completed. And we need to understand if we completed the call with them or if we didn't complete the call with them. Lastly, we have deal won and deal lost. Pretty straightforward. We either won the opportunity or we lost the opportunity. I'm going to add for this a proposal submitted stage as well, which is going to be really, really important because a lot of times, anytime we're doing a quote, we're going to submit the quote. So I'm going to actually name it quote submitted so that we know when we've actually sent the client a quote. And inside of here, these pipeline stages are going to directly correlate with our custom activities. And you'll see exactly why here shortly in the video. This is, like I said, the secret sauce of how we build close accounts and how we make sure that a lead never, ever slips through the cracks. So when we come to custom activities, we can quite literally just copy these sales pipeline stages over here. What we're going to name this instead is new activity. And that's exactly what is happening when someone visits the website. Is there's a new activity that took place. It was a form submission. The next one was obviously them booking the call. And then we have it discovery call completed, not completed, quote submitted, deal won, deal lost. And then I'm going to add one more in here, follow-up for any follow-up activities that we want to actually track and see how our sales reps are actually doing with follow-ups. Now we have our lead statuses, our pipeline stages, and our custom activities. As you can see, we got to think through a little bit, how does this process work for your business specifically, because these stages can be a little bit different. But what is really important, what I'm really trying to get across here, is the principal level understanding of how these properties work and how these custom activities work, so that we don't let a lead slip through the cracks. We're gonna have fail safes and process checks on every level of this account. One thing that is not in here is custom properties or custom fields. For the custom fields, I cannot spell today, so bear with me. Custom fields, and custom fields are gonna allow us to put information on the lead profile so that we know exactly what's going on with it. We know what information we need and have. So when they fill out the form, what questions would we want to ask the client that are gonna be pertinent to the sales rep's job? For this, we know we have phone number, email, and name. We have to get those things at the time the form is submitted, but what other information do we want? I would put in here urgency is gonna be one of the ones I'm gonna add. So urgency is going to be a drop-down property that we're gonna assign. Why a drop-down property? Well, we want to make sure anytime we're collecting custom fields from a form submission or something like that in buckets, so that we can easily sort through this data and identify what's happening with our clients. If you have something like urgency, we may find out that, hey, 80% of our clients have an emergency. This is not something that they're planning ahead. This is not something they're taking a long time to do. This is an emergency. How do we change our marketing up front? Maybe we change the marketing on the landing page to speak directly to people who are having a plumbing emergency, and that's actually where we're gonna go make most of our money. So urgency, we are gonna put emergency in here. We are gonna put preventative. We are going to put 1 to 2 days. And that'll get us a good idea of how urgent these situations are. The next question that we would add on here, let's see. So we would have urgency. Let's go ahead and let's do city. And then let's go ahead, and this city is going to be a text field, just because you don't want to list out every city that you service and hope that they type it in correctly. Now you can do a drop down on the form and have those properties match directly over, but we're going to just do a text field in this situation. So we're going to do urgency. We're going to do city. Actually, let's do this. We're going to do service area, because again, we want buckets. So we're going to do service area instead. And then we're going to list out, let's pretend this place is in Phoenix. So we're going to have Phoenix. We're going to have Scottsdale. We are going to have Gilbert. We are going to have Tempe. And then we're going to have an other option. So these are our service areas that we normally service. And then we're going to have other. We still want to have a conversation with those people, find out exactly what's going on and where they're at. But we can bucket these so we can see, oh, wow, Scottsdale is actually having the most plumbing issues. And those are the people actually giving us a call. And if we change something in our marketing, do those things actually change? So let's just leave it at that for now for time's sake, but you can add these properties. Once we have custom fields on here, we are going to come back to the actual account and we are going to come into our lead statuses. So we already have a potential in here. We already have a bad fit. So we're going to move bad fit down to the bottom. We are going to have not qualified here instead of not interested. We're going to bucket not interested into that. So qualified. So we have qualified customer. We're going to leave that instead of one. So that's the same thing, customer, one, student, if you have a coaching program, whatever it may be. We're going to delete canceled out of here. So we have potential, qualified, and what else do we have on here? We have potential, qualified, not qualified, DNC. We're going to delete interested. We're going to add DNC in here. We're going to drag DNC down to the very bottom. And we want these in order of like the actual process. So we have potential, qualified, and they're either going to be a customer, they're not going to be qualified, they're going to be bad fit. We're going to delete this guy. We don't want duplicates, not qualified, and do not call. So you see how simple these lead statuses are. I go into a lot of these accounts and I'll find 15 to 20 different lead statuses. We do not want to put that information in a lead status. So we're going to go with 5 lead statuses today. This tells me all the information I need to know of where they are at in the sales process. Next up is going to be opportunity pipelines and statuses. So we are going to name this the sales pipeline and status name. So we are just going to copy these statuses over. So form submitted is going to be number 1. And that is going to be our first actual thing that is happening in the sales pipeline. Demo completed is going to be discovery call booked. Discovery call completed. Oh, proposal submitted. We need it anyway, so I'm going to change this. Discovery call completed. Discovery call not completed. This is a really, really important one, team. We want to understand exactly how many people have not completed that actually booked a call. Are going to add a status in here. Discovery call not completed. Quote submitted. This is similar to proposal, so we're going to swap this guy out. We're gonna have deal one lost. We're gonna drag these into order. So we have the form submitted, we have a discovery call booked, we have discovery call completed or not completed, we have a quote submitted, we have one lost, and then we want a follow-up status in here as well. So once I add a follow-up, we're gonna drag this again, make sure everything's in order, make sure everything is named correctly, make sure it's easy to understand. This is gonna make such a big difference as you build this account. So now we have our opportunity pipelines and statuses inside of here for our sales pipeline. Now notice how they say active, won, and lost. We wanna make sure that these are correct. You can change the status of these over here or drop down right here. In this situation, everything is gonna be active until we have won or lost. So we are all set there. So this is saved and good to go. The next thing that we are gonna run into is custom activities. And you can see that we have one custom activity here. I'm gonna go ahead and just delete this guy because that is the default one. And we're gonna come into custom activities. It won't actually let me delete it, so we gotta create another one first. So we are going to name the first one new activity, and we're gonna put this in here. We're gonna click save. Now, once you do that, we can see it is here. Now, another rule of thumb that you always want to do is put O1, new activity, so it orders these in the correct order, otherwise it'll go alphabetically. We have new activity, we're gonna click add. We're gonna do date of activity, and we're gonna do a date field. So date of activity, and we're gonna add that field. And then we are gonna add a second field, and this is gonna be activity type. Now, again, we are building this account for the future. We want it to be future proof. So when we put activity type in here, we're gonna do a drop down with a single select, and we're gonna do form submission. Now you notice there's only one selection in here. I'm not gonna add anything else, but this allows us in the future to come into activity type and add any other choices that we want, so that if we have maybe another website, we can specify what website, etc. But this is the activity type, and it is going to come in. And I'll show you why this is important once we get into smart views. So we have our custom activity, new activity. Let's see if I can delete this guy now. I cannot delete this because some of your leads contain some activities of this type. That is unfortunate. There should not be any leads in here. Let me go ahead and see if I can delete the leads. We got a couple leads in here. Again, this is a brand new test account. So let me just go ahead and delete these and see if I can get rid of that. Again, organization is really important, even if it's something as small as this. We want the account to stay clean. We want it to look clean. So we are gonna go ahead and delete all of these examples. Let's actually leave that one. Hopefully there's no qualification call. Let's delete this qualification call. And there we go, perfect. So let's see if we can remove that custom activity now, just to clean it up. And there we go, perfect. Next activity type is going to be discovery call booked. And discovery call booked, we're gonna save that. And again, we wanna put O2 in here. So O2, this is the next step. And discovery call booked, what are we gonna have on here? Well, we're gonna have date booked and a date field, and then we're gonna have the date of call. Super, super simple custom activity here. But again, I will show you exactly why these are so important. You do not want to miss these. So date booked and date of call, and you can also add lead owner in here or sales rep. We're just gonna do lead owner. If you guys have setters and closers and these are different people, we wanna make sure we create groups and separate properties. That is in another video. You can check the link in the bio. It'll have a little link down there, or check out our YouTube channel and take a look for it. So when we come in here, we want this to be a user field, single select, and we're gonna add that. So we have date book, data call, and lead owner or sales rep, whatever you want to name it. And this helps us identify exactly who this call was booked for, when it was booked, and what the date of the actual call is going to be, because they might have booked today and the call's in 2 days. So we have discovery call booked in here. We are just gonna keep adding our custom activities as we go through here. And I want you guys to be able to see exactly what custom properties I'm gonna put on these so that there is no confusion. And the first one on here is always going to be lead owner. So we are gonna be user. And this tells me who the lead owner is that completed this call. We need it on there. So lead owner is gonna be the first one. Then we are gonna do date of call. We always want these two on here. So now we have lead owner and data call. What other properties are going to be important for us to understand and talk about during this conversation? Let's do a note property. So what is the biggest problem? And we are just gonna do a text field. So you can do a text area if it's a bigger note. So we're gonna say, what is the problem? And again, here guys, so you can do this, but again, we are just gonna delete this. We are gonna do a drop-down select, because the question that goes through my head is say, hey, can we bucket these services into a specific service? Can we bucket these problems into a certain bucket? We're gonna put issue, and we're actually gonna do a drop down here, and we are gonna put choice, drains, we're gonna do sink, toilet. Let's just do that, drain, sink, toilet. I'm trying to get a point across here. The business owner is gonna know best of what little things you need to put in here. The idea though is that we're creating these buckets. So we have drains, the sink, and the toilet, okay? I want to be able to understand, hey, out of all of these calls that we've completed and talked with these clients, how many people are calling about the sink? And why is that important? Well, our marketing team then can go in there and maybe we wanna do a promotional on, plumbing issues with your sink. And we can run a promotional for people having these issues and drive traffic directly to that. So again, getting these information on these custom activities is gonna be super, super important. So we're gonna say issue, we're gonna say, again, service area. And why is service area on the form as well as on the custom property as well as here? Well, we wanna confirm the service area. We wanna make sure that it is what they put in there. So again, we're gonna have Scottsdale. We are gonna have Phoenix. We are gonna have Gilbert, Tempe, and we're gonna have other. Same choices as the other property. Now, why are we doing the same choices as the other property? Well, this gives us the ability to update that custom property when this custom activity is submitted via Zapier. And we'll go through that in a moment. But I'm just gonna leave it at this. You guys understand exactly what we're doing here. We need to make sure that we have at minimum lead owner data call. Now, on the rest of this, it is really up to you and your business of what information do you need to know. And the biggest principal level operating system that we need to focus on is buckets. How can we bucket this information so that if marketing wants to take a look, if we're a sales manager and we want to sort by objection type, we can do that. We want to put those things on here. So let's add that one as well. We're going to add objections, and we are going to do drop down select. We're going to do too expensive. We're going to do no urgency, which would be pretty rare in plumbing issues, I would assume. So too expensive, no urgency, out of service area. So that's what we're gonna do right now. Competitor, add field. So as we can see, this custom activity is all drop down so far. Now, if we want to add a note field, we can do that. But again, we want to try to get it into buckets. I think you guys get the point by now. So next up, we are gonna do our discovery call not completed activity. So add new activity. We're gonna plop this in here. This is gonna be number 4. Again, make sure these are numbered so that they pop up in order, and then add field. What are the 2 things we need on every single one of these? We need lead owner, and that is gonna be, again, the user field. And then we need to add a second field, and this is gonna be date of call. And this is gonna be a date field right here. And we are going to save that as well. So we have lead owner and data call. Now, discovery call not completed. What information would be important to understand on this? Well, there are only specific reasons why the discovery call was not completed. So we wanna make sure we understand exactly why this was submitted. So this is gonna be another drop-down select. Again, buckets, buckets, buckets. And on here, choices, this is gonna be bad data. This is gonna be canceled, rescheduled, and no show. So those are gonna be our reasons of why this custom activity would be submitted. Again, this is resembling a call not completed. So why would it not be completed? Those are typically gonna be your reasons. You may have some other options that you can put in there, but those will typically cover them. So we have lead owner, date of call, reason, and we're gonna leave it at that for now. So quote submitted, we're gonna add this. Quote submitted is going to be pretty straightforward. What do we always need? Lead owner. So we're gonna have lead owner on there with a user field. We're gonna add another field here for date submitted. So this one's slightly different, obviously, than data call. We're not gonna have data call on here because we already have that on the other one, but we want date submitted. When do we actually submit the proposal? Next, we want valid through. And this is a super important one for people sending proposals. We wanna understand how long this proposal is actually valid through. What did we share with the customer? So we have lead owner, date submitted, and valid through. We're just gonna leave it at that. And I'll show you why it's important to have date submitted and valid through on here. It comes back to the smart views and how we're actually going to utilize those to bubble up this information and make sure we have these process checks in place. So we have that is good to go. We have deal 1 right here, and we are going to create this, and I didn't put my number on here. So we want, I believe this is 05. We're going to save that. Add field name. We are going to do, again, lead owner who submitted this. We need to understand that. We're gonna add that field. We're gonna do service type, and we're gonna do a drop down select, and then we're gonna put whatever services we offered, right? So we sold sink, repair. We sold toilet repair, or we sold sewage repair, whatever it may be. We have our options in there. Then we are gonna add the amount. And what I typically recommend is if you have a contracted amount or a collection fee upfront, whatever that may be, you wanna put it in here. So let's say we have a one-time, let me edit that. We have a one-time setup fee amount. And if you accidentally do what I just did, no worries, just go in here, delete that step. We're gonna add field. We're gonna put this in here, and this is gonna be a number, and we're gonna save that. And then we're gonna say contract value, and that's gonna be an amount as well. Or sorry, a number. We have the one-time setup fee amount, and then we have the contract value, which means the total value of this. So the last thing is we want date closed. So we want date in here as well, and we will add that. We wanna make sure date is obviously up at the top, so I'm gonna drag that up to here. So now we have our custom activity for deal one. Lastly, or actually we got two more, so we want 06 period deal lost. And I got these actually out of order, but it's not a big deal, so we'll reorder those. That's why we do these numbers. So deal lost, we're gonna have, again, date. We are going to have lead owner. We are gonna have objection, and we're gonna do a drop-down select on that. You can do a multi-select if you want them to be able to select multiple objections. Let's actually do that for this example. So we're gonna have choices. We're gonna have no urgency. We're gonna have, let's do no urgency. We're gonna do time. We're gonna do service area. We wanna make sure that the objections match the other objection property that we filled out. So we're gonna do that. So we have date, lead owner, objection, and what else would we want on a deal lost custom activity? Let's do a follow-up date. So this is going to be a date property, and this is going to help us assign a task to a user. Once this is submitted, we'll create the task for that actual follow-up date, and we can also have it in a smart view. So we're going to leave it at that. Again, we're keeping this account simple for now. Depending on the nuances of your business, we can add and remove things. Again, this is all about the principal level-based operating system. This is going to be 99% better than any other CRM or system that most people are using. I can tell you that because I've audited hundreds of accounts by now. I go look through these things. It's just a mess, right? We don't have any organization. We don't have a way to track this information. So simple is better. If this is all you're tracking, you are going to be light years ahead of most people. And again, this is a free video, so pretty excited there. So we need to do some renumbering here. Let me go ahead and pause the video and we'll renumber these real quick. All right, perfect. I got those swapped around. And then just so you guys know, I realized that it might be helpful for you guys to know this. So if you click on the pencil icon, you need to change the name. You just click on this little edit icon right here. You click settings, come over here, hit 7, and then deal lost. And we can see it now that we have this order back set up. And then we're gonna have 08 period, and we're gonna follow up. We're gonna save that at the bottom because we are not using this every single time. We're gonna do date. We're gonna do a date field here, and then we are gonna do, let's just do notes on this one. So we just wanna make sure they're filling out this activity and that there is a note. And then we're gonna do lead owner as well, so we can see who actually did the activity. Right, so we're gonna have user, we're gonna put this up here, make sure they're in the right order. And boom, we have all of our custom activities ordered nicely. We have our custom fields on there. We have new activity discovery call booked, completed, not completed, quiz submitted, deal won, deal lost, and follow-up. Now, the next thing is our custom fields. And we talked about a few custom fields that we were gonna have here. We're gonna have urgency and service area. So we are gonna add that real quick. To add a new lead or custom field here, we're gonna name it service area. This is gonna be, again, a drop-down select. We're gonna have Scottsdale. We're gonna have Phoenix. We are gonna have Tempe. We're gonna have Gilbert, and we're gonna have other. So again, you want these to match up. So if you have it on the custom activity, we wanna make sure that it matches the custom field. So we have service area in there, and then we have lead owner here as well. So lead owner is going to correlate with the lead owner on these custom activities and update the lead owner on the actual profile of the lead. And then we also had urgency. So we're going to add that custom field here. Again, super straightforward. So urgency, and we are going to have a drop down select. This is going to be emergency. It's going to be 1 to 2 days. And then the other option that we came up with was preventative. Okay. And this allows us not only to search custom fields, but also be able to search the lead for this information. I'm going to delete this custom activity. You guys want to make sure you keep these as clean as possible. So these do not apply to us. Referral source, we can keep that, and we want to rename this. Again, if you want to rename it, It's that easy. So we have lead owner, service area, urgency, and referral source. And again, guys, this is a pretty simple amount of custom properties here, but this is gonna get you so much further if you build it like this than any other account out there, I promise you. So hopefully you're following along. Hopefully you're doing this as I do this, and it's gonna be an absolute game changer for you. So now we have our custom activities done. We have our custom fields done. Custom objects you do not need to do unless you have multiple associations and different types of objects that are not leads, opportunities, or contact custom fields. If you are diving into that territory, go ahead and schedule a call with our team. Let's just talk about it. It is a beta in here, so it is pretty rare that we're ever gonna need that, but if you do, just let us know. We do have shared fields, which are similar to custom fields, and we can actually share them across different things. We have integration links. So integration links are really cool. You got LinkedIn search. You can connect your WhatsApp directly here. So if you communicate with your clients, you can add WhatsApp. Scheduling links is where we can connect Calendly and create an actual scheduling link and use it as a template tag in our SMS templates. We already went through statuses and pipelines. Those are all good to go. Then we have phone and voice. We already spoke about this, and then we are not going to go into this right now, so you can pop into there. In here, email, we can set sending limits. So if we want to prevent people from sending too many emails, we can set daily limits inside of here, and we can change how our actual unsubscribe link shows inside of our emails. Templates and snippets we will come back to when we go through workflows, and then send as we already covered as well. So now that we have our basic account structure in here, the next thing we want to come up to is organization. We want to make sure we set up our roles and permissions as well as our user groups. Now in this situation, we are just going to name this sales rep because we only have the one lead owner. If you guys are using a setter closer model or an appointment setter or a cold caller, you want to make sure that you have groups for each of those, because that is how we're going to assign ownership of the workflows and the text message and emails that are actually going out. So that's super, super important that we set that up. When we do that, we create the group, we name it whatever we want, we click add members, and then we're going to add myself to that group as a sales rep. So once we have that done, we're going to now navigate to a lead profile to actually see what these leads will look like. So we're going to come in here, we're going to name this the close doctor, and we're going to create the lead. So now that we have the lead in here, I'm going to throw a phone number in here and an email address, and we're going to save that. So now we have a lead profile, and we want to take a look at these custom activities so we can actually see how they apply. So when we create a custom activity, we're going to have new activity. This is exactly how the first thing that a client does would come into the system based on that first motion we talked about. So we have date of activity is going to be today, and then the activity type is going to be a form submission. Now, what we are going to do is we're actually going to automate the new activity. This is always going to be automated. So what we want to do is come in back to settings. We want to come over here to custom activities, and then we're going to click on new activity. And we are, again, naming is so important. We're actually going to put a little robot guy right next to this. And I'll explain why. So now we can see that the robot is in there. We're gonna do this for the discovery call booked activity as well. So I'm gonna put a little robot on here. And what we use the robot for is to signify basically a automation has fired this custom activity off, and it is what is actually being used to send these over. So now when we come back here, we can see new activity is a robot. This helps our sales reps understand that this is not an activity they fill out. This is something that the system does. So how do we get this new activity to fire off? Well, that's the magic of Zapier, and it's super straightforward. We will look into another account. I'm not gonna build them on this specific call, but we're gonna take a look at a couple examples of the Zaps that you would use to fire off this custom activity now that we have the account structure. So when we go into Zapier, and we are just gonna log into our account here and go take a look at a new activity Zap. All right, and we are logged in. So we can see here we have Close Doctor Custom Activities. And we can see that the first one in here is new activity, okay? And guess what? They're numbered exactly how we have them in the other section. Now, you can ignore this new version. They are the same. We just use these so we can use a template and copy them over if we need to in other accounts. But when we take a look at these, we can see here that we have a published custom activity, we update the lead, we filter, and then we create the opportunity. Now, what that is actually going to look like when we come into here, and again, the old version and the new version are gonna look very similar. You you can't even tell the difference. Publish custom activity, update a lead, filter conditions, and create an opportunity. Now, what are we actually doing here? Well, anytime this new activity is submitted, we are updating the lead with certain information. Now, what information will we update with the lead? On a form submission, we don't really need to update much of anything because we're not assigning a lead owner at that point. Now, if you are assigning a lead owner at the point of a form submission, then you would want to update the lead with the lead owner. Now, filter conditions, we have a filter here for that the opportunity status does not exist. We don't want to create new opportunities for people that already have an opportunity. We're going to filter there and then we're going to create the opportunity. And the opportunity is going to go into the potential pipeline stage. We're going to have a confidence of 0 at this point. Now, your confidence, we want to make sure that your confidence mirrors the confidence that you're going to close that deal. So if you know that 100% of leads come in, you close 5% of those, we want to put 5 in there for 5%. Now, we have contact ID, which is the lead contact ID, and the lead ID up here. So we are basically creating this and updating the lead if needed. Let's go ahead and go back, and we want to take a look at an example of a new activities app. And let me pull up an account here where we have a really good example of what a new activities app would actually look like. Again, we have the custom activity folder, and we're going to go exactly through that, but we're going to take a look at the new activity inside of here. And this account has a lot of new activities firing off. So like I said, you may be a little different than this plumbing company who has a single form on their website, and we have the ability to do that. But when we come into here, we can see we have a VSL ClickFunnels opt-in and we have a VSL application completed. So we're going to go into the opt-in. This would be the same for any opt-in form that you have on your website. You can use Typeform, you can use Jotform, whatever it is. And the trigger is going to be the submission of that form. Then we are going to find and create the lead, and then we're going to create the custom activity. What custom activity are we creating? We are creating that new activities app. So the one I just showed you previously. And all the other steps are going to happen on that. And then we're going to put them in the other one. So what we're doing here is automating a new activity to be fired off anytime a form is submitted, and that will show up here. The next step of the Zaps that we are always going to automate is a call booking. So if we come in here to schedule calls and we go to new OneHub booking, we prefer OneHub for larger sales organizations. You can use Calendly, cal.com. It really does not matter, but we always prefer to use OneHub. It is the most scalable platform that currently exists and that we have found. I've used it literally in almost every account that I have worked, and it's been great. It's a huge improvement from Calendly and these other things that sales organizations are using. Now, when we look at this looks pretty complicated. We got all these different things, but again, this brand has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different types of calendars that they are actually scheduling appointments through. So you may only have one on your website. That's perfectly fine. It'll look like this, a straight line down instead of going all the way over here. And we are basically doing the same thing. So when a booking gets scheduled, we are coming down this line to find a user. So we want to identify the user. Now we're finding the user from the email that is the booking page owner. So the person that actually owns the calendar invite is going to be the find user step. And then we're finding or creating the lead. So we want to find a lead. We never want to create a lead if we don't need to. So we are going to search by email. Once we search by email, then we are going to create the lead if it doesn't exist. If it exists, we're just going to update the lead. As you can see here, we want to search by email and then update or create the lead with name, email, phone, if it doesn't exist. We are not doing much else in this step because we're going to do everything else that we need to do in the update lead step. So we're going to grab the lead ID from the previous step. We're going to add a lead source, an internal page booking label, and then the setter lead owner. Who is the setter lead owner, you might ask, or the lead owner? It is going to be the owner of the booking. And that's why we have this find user step. Now, what is that going to do? Well, that is going to fire off a discovery call booked activity and the date of the activity itself. So let's say that they booked today and the date of call is for the 25th and I am the lead owner. So all that information is going to be ported directly over from Zapier when they book. And if we actually go into the details of this Zap, just so you guys can see exactly what that looks like, we are updating the lead. We have the lead ID and we are assigning the setter lead owner in this situation. And then right here, we're going to have phone, name, email. So email, create lead if it doesn't exist yet, first name, last name, email address, and phone number. Now, when we create the lead, we're also gonna fire off that booking. So when the discovery call booked activity happens, we come down here and the last step is gonna be create the custom activity, which is this guy. So where do we get date booked, data call, and lead owner? That is gonna come directly from, go ahead and go back to our Zaps. That is gonna come from the submission of the custom activity. So again, we have it scheduled. We come into OneHub booking. And when we come to the create custom activity step, we are creating the custom activity. We wanna make sure that the correct custom activity type is in here. So in our case, this would be discovery call booked. We want a status of published. We want the correct lead owner assigned from the get user step up here. We want the date booked to be the creation date of the appointment and the data call to be the start time in the owner's time zone. So then it's gonna look like this, which is a really, really great view as we come into this. Now, if we had our Zaps turned on, when this activity came in, we would have had an opportunity over here in form submitted, an activity date of matches this, right? So let's go ahead and get our activity added so you can see what this lead profile is gonna start looking like. So we have the lead owner assigned here, we have form submitted status and the opportunity created, we have a new activity, and we have a discovery call booked. Now, when the discovery call booked came in, is going to move from there to there. So again, these pipeline stages are gonna match what is actually happening with this. So as the discovery call booked comes in, it's gonna update the opportunity status. It's also going to update the lead status. So we wanna make sure we update the lead status to qualified because now they're on the calendar. They are a qualified person. We're moving them to that lead status. Now, the next step is going to be actually submitting the custom activity. So a sales rep is gonna come in here, and at the time of the call on July 25th, when we actually come into this, they are going to either do a discovery call completed activity or a discovery call not completed activity. So let's say that we actually had a conversation with this person. We're gonna put the lead owner in here. We're gonna put the date of call. Now the date of call, we gotta pretend we're in the future here, needs to match the date of call of the discovery call booked. The issue, we're gonna say it was the sync, they're in Phoenix, and the objection went with a competitor. So we obviously did not close this deal, but we have a discovery call completed here. Now, going back to when we talked about why account structure is so important. Well, the account structure here allows us to do some really cool stuff. So if a discovery call is not completed, let's go ahead and delete this activity just for the video. So we're gonna pretend that this has not been submitted, that we have a discovery call booked, and that this date is actually in the past. So date booked, let's say it was for the 21st, and the date of call is on the 22nd. And this brings me to smart views. So as we continue through here, smart views are going to be how we process check things. We have a discovery call booked. The date booked was on the 21st and a data call is on the 22nd. It is the 23rd. And I can see here that we have no post call activity. We have not marked a discovery call completed or not completed, which means that the sales rep did not do their job. So with this account structure, it gives us the ability to bubble this information up without even trying. What we're going to do in here is create a quick smart view. So we're gonna click add filter. We're gonna come down to custom activities and we're gonna say, let's go ahead and refresh. The custom activities are not showing up in there. Our new custom activity should show up. There we go. And we wanna say, anytime there's a discovery call booked that exists and the date of call, okay, this is why we have all these custom properties on here. So the date of call is before today. So now I can see all of the leads in my system that have had a date of call before today. And the next thing I want to do, again, because we're creating a process check, and these smart views should always think of like buckets. They should empty themselves out somehow. So we are gonna say, and there is not a discovery call completed activity, and there is not a discovery call not completed activity. So you want no on both of these. Now you can see here, and this is gonna be, let's just name it needs post call activity. We're gonna share this with everyone in our organization and save this. So these are going to be all the leads that exist in the system that do not have a post call activity that should have a post call activity. Now the next filter you want to add here, just to be safe, is the lead owner is any of me. And this will make sure that the sales reps have a view as well. So you want to save one as needs post call activity, and then you want to click on this drop down right here, click save as, and we want to name this needs post call activity, and we're just going to put manager in here. I typically recommend using little emojis right in here, and we're gonna name this, so let's put a red thing like this, and we're gonna save this. So these we can delete. These are not built by us. These are default smart views, just so you guys can learn when you first get into the account. So we are gonna delete each of these. And just again, make sure that you clean these up. As you can see, I'm doing it in a brand new account. You guys need to be doing it as often as possible. If you want someone to help you manage all of this and make sure that this stuff is constantly updated, go ahead and reach out to our team, talk with us. We can see what we can do. That's exactly how we manage these accounts. But the other thing I want to do is add an emoji in here. We're going to put a blue diamond for the sales rep. We're going to save that. So now I can see that we have a manager view and we have a sales rep view. When we come back to the manager view, we can see, oh, let me go ahead and delete this. The manager view should not have a lead owner on there. Closer one should have lead owner and say is any of me. So we'll click done there. We'll click save. So now why is this so important? Well, as a manager, we're able to bubble this information up and I can see exactly what leads have not had a custom activity. So when I come into Close Doctor here and I click on this lead, we are able to submit this custom activity. So let's say the sales rep came in here and we are going to submit this custom activity. We are going to put the date of call. We want the date of call to match, right? So the date of call was on the 22nd. We're going to put the 22nd, sync, service area, objection, too expensive, done, and there we go. Now, when we come back to the smart view, like magic, it is gone. We know we submitted exactly what we needed to. So that is how you add these smart views using custom activities inside of here. Now, another one that I would build based on our process that we currently have set up is I want to see when a quote was submitted. And so a quote submitted exists and the date submitted, let's say it's valid through is before today. So this is going to tell me all of the proposals, and it's actually right there. You saw it with the little throw up face. So I'm actually going to add that in there because we don't want to see these, right? We have proposals past due. These are our quickest way to cash. Now we have proposal past due. And if we come into that same lead, and let's say we had a discovery call completed, we have a quote submitted or a proposal submitted. I named that incorrectly. And we're going to say that this was submitted in the past and it was only valid for a date. And we're actually past this date. Now, as this is submitted, you'll be able to come in here and you can see that lead pops up right away. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to come in here, we need to adjust the date that this is valid through and update that. And now the proposal will disappear. So you guys can see the power of having an organized account, having the right custom activities, having the custom fields in here so that we can go look at any information we want. Now, if I want to come in here and I want to look at, hey, how many discovery calls were not completed? So does the discovery call exist? And I want to see the data call is, let's say last week. So I can see exactly how many calls we had last week that we didn't actually end up having. Boom. So we can do that. And then we can also say where there is a discovery call present. So this means where there's a discovery call present and a discovery call is not completed. So we can see exactly how many people had a call and didn't show up. And then if we delete this, we can look at how many people had a call booked. So the power of this gives you unlimited flexibility to sort through your leads, identify these things, build smart views, bubble this information up, and make sure that we are closing more deals. We're never letting a lead slip through the cracks. So I hope this was helpful. Again, we could go into much more detail. We could go into nuances, but this will give you an incredible structure for your account. I can guarantee if you follow this same exact model, you will be able to, create, scale this account up to $50-60 million without running into any issues. But if you're looking to go beyond that, or you're having trouble setting up the automations behind the scene, go ahead and just click the link in the bio, schedule a time to talk with me or someone on my team, and we can take a look at what you're trying to build, what your business type is, and how we can help support you with it.